All right, so I'm going to do a little bit of content first, and then we'll get into some practice. But I want to sort of set us up conceptually so we're clear on what we're focusing on today. The way that I frame, and again, this isn't my origination, but the way that my teaching, I present the functioning of the source, what I call the absolute, is that there's a manifest functioning and an unmanifest functioning. The manifest functioning would be more aligned with pure love, pure presence, and pure awareness. And by pure awareness, I mean direct awareness, non-conceptual awareness. So we know what a kiss is, not by talking about it or reading about it, but by having a kiss. That tells us exactly what kiss is, for example. The other functioning of the absolute is the unmanifest, which is where we'll be focusing today. The unmanifest is chiefly characterized by absence. Absence would be a term that I used instead of the traditional Buddhist word emptiness. And the emptiness I find, because we can talk about emptiness psychologically, we're empty of a certain feeling, or we're somehow deficit or in a deficit. We want to I try to avoid the word emptiness for that reason. And I'm talking about the unmanifest functioning of the absolute. I call it the absolute because it's absolute reality and absolute truth. It's a functioning that has no birth or death, so it's unconditioned. It's always been in existence, so it's something that we can count on. And we don't have to do anything to earn it, nor can we do anything to lose it. So it's always available to us. All of that's very good news. In the absence functioning of the absolute, the chief qualities we're going to make contact with are peacefulness and stillness. As we make contact with peacefulness and stillness in the absolute, which we'll do a little later through guided meditation, we can go quite deep into the peacefulness and stillness. The peacefulness and stillness have a potency to them. Whatever peacefulness touches becomes peaceful. Whatever stillness touches becomes still. So these have a magnificent ability to slow down and quiet our internal processes, our thoughts, our sense of self, our likes and dislikes, our judgments. All of that can be quieted and turned off. And in Buddhism, one of the secrets is that whatever is the most subtle, the most discreet, is usually the most powerful. So as we move deeper into peacefulness and stillness, as quiet becomes a pronounced quality within our experience, we begin to approach what's called cessation. Cessation is an experience. Cessation is the same as nibbana or nirvana. So that's one and the same. In cessation, it's complete blackness. It's much like a dreamless sleep. Cessation, the peacefulness and stillness, quiet and introduce peace into all functioning that we have. And so all materiality and mentality cease. That's why we use the term cessation. And interestingly, we don't know that cessation has happened until after we exit, after we awaken from the dreamless sleep of cessation. And I say sleep, I don't mean that we're actually asleep. It's just the closest terminology I've found to describe the direct experience. So we're in this very deep stillness, peacefulness, silence, blackness, and everything goes off, everything turns off. And when we awaken from that, if it's been a sustained experience, in my experience working with students, generally somebody has to have contact with cessation for something around 30 minutes or more for there to be a significant change. And cessation is also a requirement for advancing on the stages of awakening in Theravada Buddhism. There are 4 stages of awakening. Stream enterer is the first stage. Once returner, meaning the person has one more lifetime in human existence before they're liberated. The third stage is non-returner. They're not coming back through rebirth into human form. And finally, 4th stage is arahant, which is considered to be a very rare experience, a very rarefied state, meaning there's only 1 or 2 people per generation that's believed to experience the arahant stage of awakening. So because awakening is such a foundational part of Buddhism, I want to just present my view of what an awakening consists of, which I have 3 components. And this is from my book, Demystifying Awakening. The first component is a deep experience of what I call absence of self. Now, normally we have a sense of self based on our thought patterns. Our likes and dislikes are one of the main ways that we establish and affirm who we are. And just how we relate, how our history, our life experiences, all of that goes into establishing a sense of self. Some of it, the self is established by mirroring that we receive as young children. In each family, there's the different roles that children will take, and the family reinforces that identity. So we have that as part of our structuring of identity. So absence of self, the experience would be if I asked you right now, who are you? If you were in touch with absence of self, your response would be, I don't know. Well, normally if I asked you, who are you? You would say, I'm this name, I'm from this place, I'm this age, and whatever else would be a marker of identity, possibly gender, possibly work, all these different things. And when we're in touch with absence of self, those aren't available. We don't know who we are. So for most of us, when we first contact the absence of self, we move quickly to reassert who we are. The main way is through our likes and dislikes. Most people have a near constant narration as they move through life, their likes and dislikes. I like that car, I don't like that tree. And this ongoing narration just reaffirms who I am based upon this relation, upon the like and dislike relationship. And so that we get more and more comfortable with that, with the not knowing who we are, the not landing in the familiar me. And we gain more comfort with absence of self then. So a lot of it is I'm trying to normalize this so that when it's your experience, you can recognize it and you can relax and allow the absence of self to be here. And that is the strategy. We want to just leave it alone and let it do its work, which it does. The second component for an awakening, in my view, is seeing clearly one's true nature as true identity. And by true nature, what I'm meaning, in the process of awakening, the Absolute is awakening to itself in a particular consciousness, a particular location. So in your consciousness, the Absolute is realizing itself. That's awakening. And part of this process of awakening is the recognition, this is who I really am. This is my true self. So that's got to be a component. That's the second component. And the third is love, unity. And this is a love that encompasses everything. It reveals the undivided fabric of love, the oneness of love. We see ourselves and everything as a direct expression of love of the Absolute. So again, it's the absence of self, the recognition of true nature as true identity, and then the experience of the oneness of love. So for me, to confirm an awakening in someone, I have to validate all 3 of these components. We can experience any one of these and they can be valuable, or we can experience two. And that's, again, very valuable, but it's not an awakening. We have to have all of these. And we were talking about the depth of awakening based upon the duration, how long the sense of self is suspended.